Today we are looking at the Comparing Elements lab. You'll notice in this lab that the objective is to compare metals and nonmetals based on their physical properties. So there are 4 physical properties we're going to be looking at in order to compare the metals and the nonmetals. One is luster, and luster just means how the surface of an element reflects light. It can either be dull or shiny. And on your data table, you're going to record it as either metallic or non-metallic. The next test that we'll be doing is conductivity. And the conductivity just checks to see if the element is a good conductor or if it's a poor conductor. And in your data table, you're going to write either yes or no once you've tested for that. The next test we're going to do is magnetism. You're going to use a magnet to test the magnetism of the 7 elements. And here you'll write either yes, that it's magnetic, or no, that it's not magnetic in your data table. Finally, the last test is malleability. And malleability just means the substance's ability to be hammered into thin sheets without breaking. Substances that break easily are called brittle. So in your data table, after looking at the elements, you're going to write either that it's malleable or brittle in the data table. So let's look at the data table. And this is the data table here. And once we start testing, what you may want to do is start off by putting the element symbols at the top. Aluminum is Al, copper is Cu, carbon is C, lead is Pb, sulfur is S, iron is Fe, and zinc is Zn. So notice here are the 4 tests on the side. Test A for luster, test B conductivity, test C magnetism, and test D malleability. So let's go ahead and do one example of all 4 for you. Here is aluminum. And notice I have them all here in order so that we can test them quickly. And aluminum is already hammered into a thin sheet. So, oh, I'm sorry. We're not doing malleability yet. We're doing luster. Notice that it is shiny and reflects light. So that luster would be metallic. Did I spell that right? Okay. The second test is for conductivity. So all we do is get the conductivity meter, looks like this, and make sure it's turned on. And we are going to touch the conductivity meter to the aluminum, and notice that it lights up bright, which means it is a good conductor. So we're going to come right over here and write yes, it did conduct electricity. The next test is for magnetism. We're going to grab our magnet and come right over here and test, and it does not pick up the aluminum, so it is not magnetic. I'll put no. And then finally, malleability. Notice that I said earlier this was a thin sheet of metal, so it's already been hammered into a thin sheet. It is bendable without breaking, and so that is a malleable element. Okay. Now we're going to do the same things for all of the other elements, and I want you to fill out your data table as I ask you the questions. I'm not going to give you the answers. I've already gone over the first 4. So let's look at copper. And for copper, we're looking at if it's metallic or non-metallic. Notice it reflects light. Write down your answer. We're going to go across on A and do luster for all of them before we go to the next test. This is carbon. Okay, notice whether or not it reflects light, and write either metallic or non-metallic. For lead, let's look at lead, and notice that it reflects light. So write either metallic or non-metallic for lead. For sulfur, it does not reflect light, it's kind of dull. So for sulfur, write your answer. Iron. There's iron, reflects light. And zinc, also reflects light. So your answers now should be all across here for test A. Let's go to test B, conductivity. I'm going to test copper next. Notice the light. So you're writing either yes or no for conductivity for copper. Let's test the carbon. And I'm touching the carbon, and there's no light. Let's test lead, and there's a light. Let's test sulfur. No light. Let's test iron, and there's a light. And now let's test zinc, and there is a light. So make sure that you have answered conductivity for all of these elements here in test B. Test C is magnetism. So I'm going to grab the magnet, and we're going to test magnetism for copper. And it does not pick up the copper. For carbon, nope. For lead, let's see, nope. For sulfur, how about for iron? And it is picking up the iron. And zinc, no. So make sure you write your answers for magnetism going across for test C. And the last one is malleability, test D. So notice copper is already hammered into a thin sheet. Write down your answer. If this were to be hammered, it would probably break. So write down your answer for that one. This is a thin sheet already, bendable. This sulfur would probably break very easily if you were to hammer that. Okay. This one, iron, has already been hammered into a thin sheet. So you should know the answer to that. And zinc as well has also been hammered into a thin sheet. So remember, you are writing for test D whether they are malleable or brittle, I'm sorry. Malleable means that it can be hammered into a thin sheet. It's bendable. Brittle means that it can easily break if it were to be hammered. Fill out your data table, and then you may answer your application questions, which will be turned in for a grade. If you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you.